The history of the house itself, it was built in 1917, and the Cassidy family, which is going to be the grandparents of Bill Clinton, they didn't move into this home until 1948, or 1938, sorry. It was right after the Depression. They lost their family home during the Depression, and so they moved here, which was a rental house. But when Bill Clinton was, when he ran for president and they noticed that he was going to be the president of the United States, the city of Hope was like, we're gonna make history, you know, one of our boys is gonna be president. So they thought about the Cassidy home, they tried, and they wanted to save it. In 1956, the family actually sold the house. When his grandfather passed away, his grandmother sold the house and moved to Hot Springs to be with Virginia. And so the house was sold and resold, and you know, throughout the years. There was actually a fire in the house and it burned the upstairs, and then the house was left abandoned. So when Bill was going to win, these group of people here, which is the Clinton Foundation, the beginning of the Clinton Foundation, and this little woman right here is Virginia Clinton, or Virginia Kelly at the time, but this is Bill's mom.
His mom, yes.
Yes. So they bought the house, they did all the repairs and furnishing, and then they donated it to the National Park Service for us to run and care for from here on out. That's how we ended up with the home.
I see.
But this is the home of the Cassidys. And over here on the mantle, so these are Bill's grandparents. So this is Ethel Cassidy,
Yes.
right here, and this is Eldridge Cassidy. These are the parents of Virginia, which is Bill's
His
mom. And she was 15 years old when they moved into this home, so it was just them three. They stayed here in the home until she graduated high school. Then she left to go to Shreveport, Louisiana to go to school, to go to college to become a nurse. While there, she met this man right here, who she fell in love with, had a whirlwind relationship, and within 2 months of meeting each other, they got married. His name is William Jefferson Blythe II. This is Bill's birth father. So once they get married, within a few weeks, he was shipped off for war. World War II hit and he had to go. And so she stayed here with her mom and dad until he came home 2 years later. When he came back, he already had a job lined up, and so they moved off to Chicago, Illinois, where he was a big equipment salesman. Although he secured a job, he did not have a house yet for them to live in, so they kind of lived in and out of hotel rooms while they were there. And then, you know, technically they're not newlyweds, but they're still newlyweds because he kind of got shipped off right after marriage. She found herself pregnant. And so with them not having a place to live, he thought it was a good idea if she came back home to her mom, which was still a thing in the early years for first pregnancy, first baby, to have your mom there kind of thing. So she moved back here until he found them a place to live, and he did. Found them a home. He called them up and told them, hey, get everything packed. I'll be there in the morning. I'm going to drive all night, and I'm going to pick you up, and then I'm going to take you home back to Chicago. Well, that morning they got a phone call saying that he was in a car accident and he died. So it left Virginia 7 months pregnant, 21 years old, and now a widow. So she stayed here, obviously, with her mom and with her dad. Bill was born in the city of Hope. He wasn't born in this house, he was born in a hospital, but this is the home that they actually brought him home to. But as you can see in the living room, I mean, it's nothing fancy. These were working class people. Eldridge owned and operated a store, a grocery store, and then he actually had 2 jobs. So he owned his own store, and then he was also a night security officer for a sawmill. His grandmother was what they called a duty nurse. which we know as home health care. And so she had a couple of patients that were just a couple blocks down that she spent most of her time with. And so Virginia stayed here, took care of Bill from the time he was born until he was 2 years old. Virginia then realized she was going to be a single mom and she wanted to provide a good life. So she decided to go back and finish her certificate, nursing certificate. So she goes to New Orleans to finish college out and left Bill here with his grandparents. So for them, they're working all the time a lot. Now they have this infant that they're trying to take care of. So they hire a local, her name is Miss Odessa, to sit with Bill and take care of Bill while they were away from work. So, but those people, those 3 people, 4 people, actually, he never knew his father, but he's got his smile.
Yeah.
But
Do you have a picture of Miss Odessa?
in a book. I'll show you the book.
Okay.
But the things that he learned between Virginia, his grandmother, his grandfather,
Yes.
and then, you know, later when Virginia came back, she was in love again. She got her certificate, but she fell in love with a Roger Clinton. And they were married, and then they moved a couple blocks away, where they stayed long enough for Bill to do kindergarten, 1st grade here in Hope, Arkansas. And then they moved to Hot Springs, Arkansas, where he finished out the rest of his schooling. But these are all of his relatives. This is his great-grandma and grandpa. This is Eldridge, mother and father.
Okay.
So this is his Uncle Buddy with his grandfather. Uncle Buddy was his favorite uncle. He also named his dog after his uncle.
Buddy,
So,
yes.
Buddy the dog.
Yes.
And that's where all that came from.
And that's when he was in grade school?
So that's in 1950. And this here is, I said, you can kind of tell Bill was born to do what he does. So this is the first trophy he ever won.
Wow.
So he was in the cutest baby contest, and out of 100 babies, he won.
He was only like maybe
Like
a year and a
maybe
half?
a year old.
Yeah. Wow. And this is the trophy.
Well, that's a replica of the
okay.
original, but
Ah,
that's the actual picture.
he's cute.
He was a very cute child. And then another photograph here of him sitting in this location in front of their Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
So this is where they would set up their tree every year, which is a great window for a Christmas tree.
Yes.
And here you have, you know, the dining room.
Yes.
Now, the formal dining room, in all honesty, was used more as a workspace. They would only do like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, big dinners here. But most of the time, it was just using it for sewing, folding the laundry, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's Miss Odessa.
Oh, you have a picture of her. So this, so she took care of him like while he was in grade school throughout.
Yeah. So, what I really thought was very sweet, even when Bill was president and he came here to visit his relatives, his dad and his grandpa in the Rose Hill Cemetery, she lived nearby the cemetery. He would still go and check on her.
Wow,
And
that's
so
sweet.
he still visited her, even though he was president, he would still go and visit with her. So, I like to think, you know, sometimes we can't choose who our family are, and sometimes we can. He kind of chose her to be his family, so that was very sweet.
That's very sweet story.
This room is what they called a butler's pantry.
Okay.
This is basically, they would have had shelves in here, stored all the canned foods and stuff like that. And then their kitchen, which is a very small kitchen compared to what we kind of see kitchens today.
Oh, so cute.
But for the most part, it was big enough for them. Since everybody was working, it's not like everybody sat. Most of them, they sat here at the kitchen table and ate. Very close knit, as you can see. But while the cooking's happening or dishes are being washed, Bill would sit at this table where he was being taught to read, to write. He was taught, how to count through using playing cards. By the time he even started kindergarten, he already knew how to read and write. And that's because his grandmother was very big on education and trying to teach him things. Now, there's only one piece of thing that's really, before we leave, this calendar. I always like to point out this calendar.
Okay.
This is what small town means. So this is the birthday calendar of Hope, Arkansas in 1947. So everybody who lived in the town of Hope had their birthday placed into the calendar.
Wow.
So on August 19th,
Yes.
that is William Clinton's birthday. And if you look right there, it says William J. Blythe, which is Bill Clinton. Right above it, you see J.E. Cassidy, James Eldridge Cassidy. So he shared his birthday with his grandpa.
Oh, Grandpa's. Okay, same day.
So Grandpa got a birthday present. He got a grandson. Now upstairs is the only thing we can find that actually belonged to Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Just watch your step. The steps can be a little rickety.
Okay.
They're safe, but it's weird. We'll go in here first.
Okay.
So this is the master bedroom, but it actually belonged to Virginia.
Oh.
The grandparents did not sleep in here.
Wow.
As said, they moved into this home when Virginia was 15 years old, and since they lost their house during the Depression, she was very distraught over it. It's like, what are their girls at school gonna say? Because they moved into a rental home. And so Mom and Dad wanted to make Virginia happy, so they gave her the biggest room.
Wow.
Now in Virginia's book, she states that story, but she says the real reason why they gave her this room is because it's the hottest room in the house. Because it got the morning sun and the afternoon sun and the evening sun,
Yeah.
so it never cooled down. But in all honesty, in foresight, she would need the larger room in time because it was going to be her and Bill that's going to be in here. But Virginia was kind of a modern girl. She's very modern for the time. She loved her makeup. She was very fashion forward. She was always going through the magazines and trying to stay up to date. And so she kind of lived the lifestyle in a small town, if that makes any sense. But right across the way, as Bill grew up, and he needed what they call a big boy's bed, this was Bill's room.
Okay.
And so every child has their hero,
Yeah.
and for Bill, it was Hopalong Cassidy. So he had all the Hopalong Cassidy stuff that you could find, the bedspread, the cowboy hat. He even dressed up as Hopalong Cassidy, and he was been seen all over town wearing his little cowboy suit.
Wow.
That is actual Hopalong Cassidy with his horse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This table desk here, this roll top desk, this is a very close replica to the original. And when Bill's seen it, he thought it was his original desk, but it's not. But his grandmother wrote a friend saying, hey, we're going to buy little Billy a roll top desk for Christmas because someday this boy's going to grow up to be president.
They already knew.
They already knew the foresight in it, but this is his first presidential desk.
Wow.
And the only artifact that's original to Bill is this book.
Okay.
So this is the book, one of the books that he learned to read from. And it's the only book, the only artifact in the whole house that actually belonged to him.
Wow.
Which is the reason why it's encased and not out in open air. They only had one bathroom. It was upstairs.
Yeah.
which was functional. Very small still. And then this would have been the room of the grandparents, Mama and Papa. So it was not uncommon for them to sleep in separate beds.
Right.
For me, it's uncommon to see 2 full-size beds. Normally they were twins. But this is a very large room.
Yes.
Again, they were kind of like 2 ships that passed the night. He worked 2 jobs. She was a nurse. So there was a lot of, moving parts kind of happening in this house. And so most of the time, they wouldn't disturb each other as they were coming into bed or getting out of bed. So by sleeping separately, it was like one of those things. Over here, you'll see a letter that was written by Bill to his mama. I think it's kind of funny because it kind of takes a shot at New York, where he lives now. The small town boy coming home. And if you notice, there's not a whole lot of pictures of Roger Clinton in the house. Everything is of Bill Blythe.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's because Edith did not like Roger. So she wouldn't have any of his pictures up.
I see. Family secret. Well, maybe not so secret.
But I said they were hardworking folks, and all the stuff that Bill learned here is, that was instilled in him. Those family traits that we hope to pass on to our children. Yeah. That's what moved him forward and kind of kept him going as not only governor of Arkansas for 2 straight times, but also as president.
Yes.
Again, for 2 straight times. Even after his impeachment, he was still well liked. He was still one of the highest ranking well liked presidents we have.
Indeed.
But that's pretty much all of the home. If you have any questions.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss
You're
Lisa.
welcome. You're so welcome.
It was a wonderful tour. Thank you.